I want to first start by just quickly introducing myself. My name is Joe. I am the design advocate here at Lyssna, which basically means that I do a bunch of stuff, but it's all really related to education and helping people be more successful with their research. So I've been a senior product designer and researcher and educator for about the past 10 years. I know there are a bunch of people here. I see a bunch of familiar names from bite-sized classes and workshops. So I've basically been doing design research and then teaching it in one way or another for quite a long time. In my product design career and research, I did a lot of freelance work over a long period of time. So I've worked on projects of all shapes and sizes, from little teeny tiny startups getting off the ground, leading design and research for them, all the way to larger enterprise Fortune 500 companies. So I've got a lot of experience with all the kind of different what product design, research, today with marketing and messaging a little bit, what that can look like throughout all these different companies and teams, clients and personalities also that I've worked with over the years. So my goal is to bring that into our workshop today and into every workshop, talk about some of my experience, answer your questions, hear about your experience and what you're working on, and most of all, leaving you with some real tangible skills and confidence. I want you to learn a lot in this workshop, but it's not just about knowing more or retaining more facts. Beyond that, I want everyone to leave here feeling whatever you're working on, whether it's something immediate or a project down the road, that you're able to apply the stuff that we're doing here today and feel like a better, more confident designer, marketer, UX writer, or whatever that role is. And we're going to get some hands-on practice today, which I'm excited about. Cool. So I want to talk about the bigger picture of what we're going to be looking at and working on today, and then zooming into our project. So after quick overview, which I'll get into, we're going to do a little hands-on challenge. I'm going to introduce the scenario for that challenge, a mini role that we'll be playing as a, UX research, UX writing, content design, a little bit of everything. But I'm going to introduce that scenario, and that'll get us set up for what we're going to be working on for the rest of the workshop. So we are going to be doing some hands-on activities towards the end, redesigning or rewriting a new and improved email based on that scenario. We're going to be testing it out on Lyssna and hopefully seeing some results roll in before we break today. And then finally, we'll end with our last couple minutes, some key takeaways and a wrap up and some upcoming things that we have going on. All right, so let's get into kind of our overview here, our framing of what we're going to be doing both with our project and zooming out a little bit on some of the skills that we'll be talking through. This workshop is called Design Better Email Campaigns, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to stick to the project and the scenario. But to zoom out for a second, we're really going to be, the skills that we're going to be learning and practicing here are going to go well beyond just improving an email campaign, writing better copy, improving click rates or open rates on an email. What we're really talking about in this workshop and practicing through the lens of an email campaign is messaging clarity. Messaging clarity shows up a lot, or it becomes important in emails. Absolutely, because that's often your communication and channel that you're communicating or messaging something to users. But it applies everywhere and it always matters. I've taught a UX writing class that I'm sure a few of you have taken here, a workshop. And one of my favorite, what I start out with in that workshop is the fact that a user interacting with your product is a constant conversation, right? Sometimes it's through words and writing of maybe a message, an error, a choice that you're being prompted with. Other times it could be things like helper text, examples, walkthroughs, onboarding. So while it's not necessarily just a chat bot or something that you're literally having a conversation with, messaging and that clarity is a constantly there throughout a user's experience with your product. It's the back and forth, quote unquote, conversation that you're having with them, both through things like email and also every other part of the experience. So yes, messaging clarity in emails is important, what we're going to focus on, and one of the main areas where it can be challenging to provide clear, compelling messaging, but also in calls to action, right? If you're having some kind of CTA to ask the user to take action, to sign up for something, to add a new payment source to their account, messaging and the clarity that comes through that and the way that you communicate that is not just nice to have. It can also be make or break for the user experience. If it's clear, it's going to guide them on the right path. If it's unclear, it could take them off that path and lead to maybe a frustrating or confusing experience. Landing pages, I guess getting more back to kind of like conversions and call to actions, messaging clarity is important. Same idea as an email. You're trying to get a message across in the appropriate way, clearly, in the right tone, and trying to craft a message through text, visuals, whatever you're using, that's going to resonate with your users. Even things like notifications in onboarding have messaging. These are part of that conversation. And while they might not be related to conversions or clicks or checkouts, they are going to be an important, how you message that is going to play an important role in the user's understanding, their setup, and ultimately their success with your product. So this stuff that we're doing for emails really is going to apply everywhere. And as I was making this workshop, just as an aside, I was remembering our UX writing workshop that I've hosted in the past and think that might be a part two to what we got going on today. Okay, so we're doing emails, but we're really talking about nailing the message and the clarity of a message wherever that message is being broadcast or shown to your users. We're also going to talk about quick and dirty testing as a method to get that messaging right. Now, I don't know why, I don't really like saying quick and dirty testing, but it is the term that kind of comes up a lot and the go-to phrase that I think of when describing this type of testing. So what we're talking about with quick and dirty, don't think of dirty as a bad thing. Think of it as good, scrappy, resourceful. Maybe I got to change that around. But we're going to talk about testing that messaging and more generally, testing and research that you can do that is fast and effective, maybe not as formal as a long drawn out study or some multifaceted study or analysis that you're doing, which are also important parts of the UX research process. But today we're going to focus on more of that quick and let's say resourceful testing that's going to allow you to do things quickly, effectively, efficiently, and most importantly, get results. So when we're talking about quick and dirty testing, especially related to messaging, what I really mean there is exploring some methods of research that don't necessarily have, or using research methods that don't necessarily have to be slow, expensive, complicated, or nebulous. I think one of the big challenges of getting into UX research, certainly one of the biggest challenges of getting buy-in on UX research, is that it has a reputation of being endless, right? This long, drawn-out process that's going to bring us a lot of information that we then have to figure out and then do more research on, and then somehow put it all together to make a decision on what our users need or what is going to be the best thing that we can build for them. And I'll say that there are a lot of research methods and studies that do have to be time consuming, expensive, and complex, right? This is not to say that research always has to be a really straightforward, simplified, get in, get out kind of thing. There are tons of studies where that level of depth and commitment really are necessary to answer some challenging or hard questions about your users. But there are also a lot of research methods and a lot of things that you can do that don't have to be like that, where you can get actionable insights quickly and use them to make good product decisions and improve the experience for users. So quicker, smaller, more frequent tests can have a really huge impact. We're going to be looking at the 5-second test. You already did one when you came into the workshop, a 7-second test. And I'm going to show some examples of other ones as we get into Lyssna. But things like a quick 5-second test that you did, a first click test, a navigation test, lots of different methodologies for these, but they all have one thing in common. They take minimal effort and resources. They're things that you can launch and really get out there quickly and effectively. And that's through all phases of recruiting participants, creating a study, and bringing back those results to synthesize and make a decision on. A lot of these smaller, quicker, more focused methodologies also are great for bringing back actionable insights. So if you're doing a month in-depth user interviews, that might be really beneficial in some ways, but often the process of synthesizing that and then turning it into a good design decision or a new feature isn't really straightforward. But with a lot of these smaller, more focused testing methods, it can be. These are things where you can get results back and pretty clearly see what's going on and use that information to make a decision that doesn't require an enormous amount of synthesis or complex breakdowns on it. And they're easy to implement and get buy-in. Like I said, one of the most common, I would say far and away the most common objection or resistance that you might get when trying to implement UX research is that it's long and expensive and time consuming and takes away from other things you could be doing, building new features or creating a new prototype. But a lot of these quick tests are not only easy to implement, they're easy to get buy-in. So what we're doing here today, for any of you who have had pushback, maybe with clients, your team, your organization, or just feeling like it's difficult to get a research initiative up and running, what we're doing here today and a lot of these quicker, smaller tests are actually going to be a great starting point to do that. They're going to just be easier for your stakeholders to say yes to. And in a lot of ways, you'll see the results from these clearly and quickly. So you can prove that the research you're doing is actually leading to something productive or an improvement in the experience. So testing small equals big wins over time. There's still a need, like I said, for more in-depth, complex, multifaceted studies, but I think that some of these quick and dirty small tests are highly underrated. If you're running relatively small focused tests frequently, whether that's messaging, calls to action, pricing pages, those can lead to big wins over time. Those might not reveal the next perfect feature or game-changing feature for your app, but over time, they're going to lead to lots of good decisions, little improvements, and certainly getting you closer to your user satisfaction goals and your business goals. I'll put this link in the chat. This is one of my favorite sites. They make you pay for some of the reports, but some of them are free. Let me drop this in the chat. Good UI is well, I'll let you check it out, but basically they run all of these different types of tests, a lot of them for conversion rates, A/B tests, stuff like that. And they publish the results of them. And like I said, some of them you have to pay for the full case studies, but some of them there are a good amount of free ones that are really interesting. If you want to see how slight tweaks in design patterns, in messaging, in layouts, and how that testing and those slight tweaks can lead to really tangible, impactful results, check this site out. I think if you're spending an hour with me here today to learn about this, I can pretty safely say you're going to enjoy this site and reading through some of the case studies. And the cool thing is they're all on real sites. So they're all on big e-commerce sites or subscription sites that really provide a lot of cool results and interesting things to think about and to apply to your own work. So if you want a good example of how testing small can equal big wins, check out Good UI. No partnership or affiliation there, just a good website. All right, so what we're going to focus on today is 5-second testing. I mentioned a bunch of other kind of quick and dirty testing methods that are easy to launch, easy to implement, and can get you some good results efficiently. We'll look at a few more of those, and I'm happy to take some questions on them when we do. But what we're going to focus on today is 5-second testing or 7-second testing, like the one that you did at the beginning of our workshop. 5-second testing is basically a form of very kind of lightweight usability testing that allows you to measure how well a design communicates a message. So this could be like the email that you looked at when you participated in this study right at the beginning of class. It could be testing to see, getting the value proposition of something. You can check for comprehension, right? Do people understand the product or service or the purpose of the thing, the landing page email that they're looking at? Is the value communicated? And even for something simple, brand recognition or product recognition, a 5-second test is going to be a great way to do that. So there are a lot of different ways to use it. What we're going to do today with our email is really a great application for it, and one that we see commonly people at Lyssna testing. But it's all about showing something to someone for 5 to 7 seconds, and then asking them a couple questions about it to get an idea of what they got out of that and really how clearly and effectively your messaging is coming through. So let me take this link off because now it's distracting me. Let me click out of that. I don't know if you guys can see it, but I'm going to close it. So we're going to get some practice with this, with a challenge scenario, and we're going to walk through some of the best practices and some of the processes for doing this, as well as taking a look at your responses to the 7-second test that we did a little while ago. So here's what we're going to be working on for the rest of our class. Our challenge scenario, time and smart reschedule. And this will look familiar if you did the 7-second test when we started. Here's the very brief overview of this. Time is an app that helps professionals efficiently schedule and manage meetings. This isn't a real app. I cobbled together a bunch of screenshots and names and stuff from Calendly, but imagine, just for our purposes today, a general calendar scheduling app. There's a new feature, Smart Reschedule. Again, just a screenshot from Google or something else I found here. But you can imagine what the feature would do. The description of it is Smart Reschedule automatically suggests a new meeting time when somebody cancels a meeting. Give me a thumbs up if this would be valuable for you. Anyone have people canceling on? Yeah. Or are you the canceller? That's what I am a lot of times. And then I have to feel bad about asking for new times. So we're working on time, and specifically the newest feature, Smart Reschedule. The background, without getting into too much of the, let's say, previous research or the scenario, we're going to say that there is demand for this feature, or maybe to even take a step back, that there's evidence of a major pain point supporting the development of this feature to automatically reschedule appointments when they get canceled. So through interviews, customer feedback, support requests, past research that we've done, we as the team at Timewell have had and heard an overwhelming amount of feedback expressing basically the annoyance and inconvenience of rescheduling. And we're going to look at these a little bit more in just a second. So we're rolling out this new feature of a smart scheduling. There's demand for it. It's something users have expressed quite a bit in terms of a pain point with scheduling meetings. But we have one problem, which is low engagement with the email announcement. So spend months, weeks testing this feature, building it, and finally get to announce it to our email list. And we got really low engagement. Again, without giving specific numbers or click-through rates here, we can take it as a fact that despite the demand and the really frequent voicing of these pain points, the email had a low click-through rate and an even lower adoption rate for smart reschedules. So despite this being something that people expressed a need for, when we announced it, at least through this email, it's not really clicking with people. They're not literally clicking and checking it out, and the adoption rate of people actually using it is low. So our hypothesis is that the problem is unclear messaging. It's not that people don't want or don't have a need for smart reschedule or that it's not a pain point with them, but that what we're working on here, the announcement through this email, is unclear and maybe didn't get the message across as clearly and as compelling as it could. All right, so where did we go wrong? What's wrong with this messaging? I'm going to pull up your responses to this from the Lyssna study that you did. I haven't checked this out, but we have, let's see, 20 responses here. And I'm also going to share this link in the chat so you guys can check it out. Put this one up, promote on stage, as notification. Check that link. Give me a thumbs up if that works for you. You should be able to see it, but there might be something like permission-wise that you're not. But you should be able to click on that and see what I'm saying. Awesome. Cool. So this is the results back end of Lyssna of the study that we just ran. It looks like everyone can see it. Awesome. And we got 20 responses for this one. That's good. So let's check out what you guys thought of it. All right. So you've seen this already. The time email designed for 7 seconds. I gave us a little 2-second grace period on the 5-second test. And I asked all of you to try to remember as much as you can about what it says and what it's about. And then we asked some questions. Okay, let's see some of the responses here. What is this email about? It's about a calendar app, calendar scheduling, time scheduler, planning, calendar tool, time app for scheduling, a workshop, AI calendar organization, question mark. Calendar organization, managing email inbox and alerts, email scheduling or scheduling app. All right, this breakdown here, I would say everyone got pretty close on this one, right? Everyone was in the right ballpark that this email is about a calendar app. Let's look at the next question here. This is the one I'm really interested in. How do you think this feature would benefit TimeWell users? Not sure. Scheduling meetings that fit with everyone's schedule, organize their calendar, time management, help schedule meetings. I think the goal is to help users be efficient and productive, but there was a lot of info in 7 seconds. Can't remember the feature, easier to manage your time, organize busy calendars, wasn't able to read fast. Okay, for those of you who said something like that, like I wasn't able to read fast, that was the purpose of this initial test here, right? We can see through just scanning through the responses, and you can do this on your own, that while maybe the overall really high level gist of this email was communicated, that it's about a calendar app or organizing your schedule, that the real message, the release of this revolutionary new feature that is so in demand and has been asked for so much, Smart Reschedule, didn't really come through. I'm actually looking down here to see if anyone has anything about rescheduling. So keep track of meetings, schedule conflicts, smart updates with a question mark here, help schedule meetings that fit everyone's schedule. I'd say this one was probably the closest, but you can see here, right, that everyone's in the ballpark, but a lot of answers that didn't comprehend it and a lot more that were close, but clearly didn't get the more focused purpose of this email here. So we can see from this that our messaging, I think, needs some work, right? Yeah, there's an automation one. I'm seeing that, Sean. There's an automation of calendar events, definitely. But we want to see if we can improve this, right? Getting out of just the high level, oh, it's about a calendar app and making scheduling easier, and more specifically into the pain point and the solution that we're releasing of rescheduling. When someone cancels, can we find another automatically find another time that is going to work and reduce some of that back and forth. So I think from your responses there, probably the feeling of just doing that 7-second test, you can tell that it needs some work. I think the mistake here in the messaging of the email that we just looked at and that you did the test on is a pretty common one, right? Overly playful or casual language that might be friendly and relatable, but it's too vague. Roll with whatever your calendar throws at you. That sounds human, right? And sounds something you might say or hear. And I think everyone can get the gist of what that means. Just like a better way to keep up with calendar chaos. There's language that's somewhat engaging, conversational, but doesn't really get to the point of what this is about, right? It's too vague. I think if I had to diagnose the messaging problem with the one that you looked at, probably fall into this category, which is a pretty common mistake involved in messaging. Another example, I made all these examples up, but I based them off of real ones that I've seen. Uber, looks like your ride hit a speed bump while trying to process your last charge. We ran into an issue with your card. Head over to your account and update your payment source to get back on the road. This one I wanted to create as a good example where it's unclear what the message is. It's overly casual and playful. And the bigger problem with this one is that it actually has a real impact on your success or ability to use Uber. It's not just a promotional email or, hey, check this out or get 10% off. This is a specific email notification saying that your payment info is expired or didn't work, and you need to go change it or update it. This is a message that you want to get through to someone clearly, and with overly playful or casual language that is going to look nice, maybe feel friendly from Uber, which is just weird because Uber doesn't seem super friendly, but it's not going to get the point across. And while it might seem nice, ultimately people are going to be frustrated when they try to book a ride and realize that their credit card's not working and that they missed the email because it got lumped into all the other promotional stuff that comes in your inbox. By the way, if anyone has examples or like companies that do this, that kind of go overly friendly, casual, using like catchphrases and stuff when it'd probably benefit them to be a little more straightforward, put it in the chat. The one that's coming to mind for me is, I think it's Stop and Shop. It's some grocery store, and then flowers.com or what. I probably ordered something from there like however long ago, and still I get a million emails from them, and most of them have that tone, and I can't distinguish what actually I should look at or what is just another promo there. Now, other common mistakes, messaging is loaded with jargon or insider language. I don't think this is as applicable to emails. You don't see it as much, I would say, but definitely with like in-app messaging, tool tips, descriptions of things, stuff like this, right? Dynamic scheduling for seamless meeting coordination. This could be trying to use overly impressive terms, or it could be using more internal terms, things that you and your teammates words that you guys might use to describe a product or a benefit, but losing sight of how your users might think of it or what description would resonate them. Etsy does that quite a bit. MailChimp. Yeah, I think I got to check out Etsy. I do get emails from Etsy, but some of these companies, I think MailChimp's a good example of one that does it well, right? Where they are friendly and casual. There's probably some examples where they go a little overboard on that and the message becomes a little less clear. Etsy, I got to check out though, because I know that's the language and tone that they use, but I need to find and see if they have any examples where that tone gets in the way of a clear message, let's say. The last one, this is kind of one we've talked about, but the wrong tone for the scenario, similar to the Uber one, too playful when clarity is needed or too serious when friendliness would work better. This from Airbnb. One last thing before you take off. Hey there, your upcoming stay is right around the corner. We just need a little something from you. Give your account a quick peek and verify your ID so we can confirm your stay and you can enjoy your trip. Friendly, casual, conversational, but I would probably miss this email and then trying to check into my Airbnb only to get notified that I never did my ID verification. This is probably one that you want to be a little bit more straightforward with, right? Complete your ID verification to confirm your stay. Before you check in, we need to verify your ID for security and a smooth check-in process. It only takes a minute, upload a photo ID, and we have our call to action to complete ID verification here. So these are just some common mistakes. I would say the one we looked at with Timewell is probably in this realm, or the first example we looked at where it's casual friendly, but that's getting in the way of the actual announcement, the feature, and the value that you're trying to convey to users. All right, so we are going to improve this email, and we're going to do this as a quick hands-on activity. So I'm going to walk you through this. I'm going to give you guys about 10 minutes to just rewrite some aspects of this email, and then we're going to test. I'm going to pick one from the class. We're going to test it out on Lyssna, hopefully get some responses in, and see if in 7 seconds, we get some better responses from our outside panel that shows that we've improved the clarity and messaging a little bit. So let me walk you through this. I'm going to put a link up for the FigJam file that we're going to be using. And those of you who've taken classes with me before and done this, you're going to know the drill here, but let me share this in the chat. Everyone, we have open session here. Awesome. So open up this FigJam. I see most of you are in here already, and find a spot, and then just go in and swap your name out where it says your name here. I'm gonna make this mine. Put your first and last name there. If you want to change the color of your spot or anything, you can do that, make it stand out a little bit. And this is going to be pretty much your home base for the project and redesign. So let me just give everyone a minute to open that up, to find a spot, and to put your name in there. All of these boards are exactly the same. Doesn't matter which one you pick. If anyone's having any issues accessing this or with FigJam, just let me know and I'd be happy to help you out. Check the chat here. Figma to the email marketing, just ensure is responsive. There are ways, Alice, to use Figma for email design. There are integrations with different email providers like MailChimp and stuff like that. So people definitely use Figma to design emails and email templates. Depending on your specific question or use case, there'll probably be some plugins or a workflow to actually take that from email template, static email template, into exporting it as code that's going to be responsive, or integrating it with your email provider. But yes, definitely email templates, lots of them in the Figma community, and a great tool for designing them. All right, give me a thumbs up if you're in this FigJam and got a spot. That's good. Thumbs up, nice. The thumbs up are a little delayed, so I'm just making sure they're coming through. Excellent. Okay, we're going to come back to that in just a second, or you can keep that FigJam open. All right, so we open FigJam, put your name on a board, and let me walk through what we're going to be doing here. I'll head over to my board. All right, so you can check out my screen or your own board here. Like I said, they're all exactly the same. What we have here first is your template. This is where you're going to be redesigning, but really just rewriting the Timewell email announcing this new feature, Smart Reschedule. And specifically, what you're going to be rewriting is the headline, this little subheader down here, a description, and a button CTA over here. This is what they're going to click to go to the Smart Reschedule feature in their account, let's say. What we have over here on the right are user feedback highlights. We looked at a couple of these when I was going through the challenge scenario, but I wanted to put a few more here to get your wheels turning on how you want to redesign or rewrite this messaging. we just looked at a bunch of examples and common mistakes of being overly using too much jargon, overly technical with messaging, overly friendly and confusing. And while those are some pretty common mistakes, they're also totally subjective, right? Those depend on your audience, your tone and voice that you use when communicating with users. So while they're a good guideline and a good thing to keep in mind, the best way to really hone in your messaging is to look at and use the words, the communication, the terminology that your users are voicing to you when describing it, and making sure that you're mirroring back to them that messaging in language and terms that they're going to understand and that are going to resonate with them. So these are all some user feedback highlights related to quotes from users related to TimeWell and more specifically rescheduling meetings. The way to use these, scan through them, take a read. You can do some highlights. You can move them around if you need to. But the goal here is to use these and not start from scratch or your best guess when coming up with new messaging, but to actually use some of the things that you're finding in here, maybe some of the common themes or phrases to help improve this headline, subheader, description, and CTA. Everyone good? Let's see, Kat had a question. This is a brand new feature, right? Not a reminder that it exists. Yes, let's say it's a brand new feature. We're releasing Smart Reschedule here, and we have all this backed research from interviews on the top, relevant to the topic of rescheduling. Nice. All right, so my last tip before I give you 10 minutes to do a quick rewrite, redesign on this is don't get hung up if you have multiple different ways that you want to go with it. The whole point of testing, and especially for this workshop where we're doing it really quickly, is to pick a direction and go with it. That's why we're testing this. And that's one of the biggest values that you can have this quick and dirty testing. Not only is it going to get you some results, but it's going to ease that analysis paralysis, right? Where you're constantly flip-flopping on the messaging. Do you like this better? Do you like that better? Check out some of those quotes, give it your best shot on the messaging here, and I'm going to show you how to test it out. So rather than trying to guess what's going to be best, we can get some results in and some responses and evaluate it from real people, and you can use that to make a decision instead. All right, let me set a timer here in FigJam for 10 minutes. We'll see how we do. You got to work fast, obviously, but I'm going to set a 10-minute timer here for you to rewrite your email. After that, we'll take a look. I'm going to pick one to test in Lyssna, and we'll do a quick wrap up while we let the results roll in. So if you have any questions in the chat, just let me know. Vicky, the main goal is, yes, we want we're asking people to use we want people to use the new feature. So the overall idea is adoption, right? And getting them to use Smart Reschedule. But I guess more specifically, the goal of this email is to clearly communicate what it is. If we're basing it off of the research that there's a need for this and demand for this, there's a major pain point with people, then the idea is to mirror that in our messaging. And yes, get them to use it, but I guess more specifically, getting them to use it by messaging clearly what it is and the value that it's going to bring to them, rather than the vague keep up with calendar chaos that we saw at the beginning. And since I haven't outlined like how this feature works, we haven't really gone into detail with that. You can take some liberties there. I'm writing in mine right here. Reschedule canceled meetings in one click, right? We could make that assumption and bring it in. Don't get too caught up on the specifics of Smart Reschedule. So I'm just working on my own right here and do a quick version. I'm going to zoom out, see how everyone else is doing. And check it out. We got about 5 minutes left. Nice, looking good, Kat. Easy way to reschedule meetings. Vanessa, nice job. I'm checking yours out here. Let me put this up so everyone can see. I like that headline, Vanessa. I'm going to stop working on mine so I can read some of yours. Smart Reschedule, let AI handle the back and forth. Nice, Monty. No more can we reschedule emails. That's what I was going with, something like that too. Cool. Let time will handle the rescheduling for you. Sorry, Bobby, I'll let you type that out. Quick and hassle-free rescheduling now available. No more back and forth. Nice. This is great. This is exactly why I put the quotes over here. I'm seeing you guys pulling some of those phrases back and forth. That one, I think I put it somewhere in mine. That was definitely one that stood out to me. Frequent phrase that's used in some of these complaints or feedback, and one that I would definitely think about using in a way that's going to resonate with users. Rescheduling meetings made easy. Nice. So while you guys are doing this, I'm going to set up and we'll take a look at that. Got a couple more minutes here. As soon as we're done with this, I'm going to pick one, submit it, walk through it, and we'll do a quick wrap up while we're letting the results roll in. And while you're doing that, I'm going to get our study rolling. So we'll have some results to check out. Really nice job, everybody. And this is, I know everyone's coming in with different projects or use cases for what you want to get out of this workshop, but I hope you're seeing that kind of the simplicity of some of these quick studies. And I really wanted to give an example. All right, so let's pause for a second and check out my screen over here. I set up a new study in Lyssna. This is a 5-second test. We're going to do a 7-second test. And as I said at the beginning of class, it is exactly the same as the one that you tested about an hour ago. We have study details, time student study V2, and I'll put cat here. So we can remember, we have a welcome screen with some instructions. You'll briefly see an email from Timewell, an app that helps professionals. Afterward, you'll be asked a few questions. And then we have our 7-second test here. Timewell email for 7 seconds. Remember as much as you can. I'm going to remove this one. And I'm going to add, here's in cat. I'm going to take that iPhone frame off just so people can see it a little bit easier because I have the important stuff there. So this test is identical. The study that we're doing is identical, except we are adding a new email instead of the original one that we have. We got our follow-up questions. What is this email about? And how do you think this feature would benefit Timewell users? So now that our study's set up, we're going to recruit. And for this one, rather than do it with a link, I'm going to recruit from the Lyssna panel and hopefully get some responses flowing in pretty quickly. I'm going to do it with 20 people here since that's what we had for our the study that you guys participated in. And I'm going to keep, I think I had the location as US. Not that it really matters, but just to keep it, I'm just going to keep it abroad. I actually think it was general for the last one. So we're going to launch this same exact study, Kat, with your redesigned email here and wait for some results to roll in. All right. Yeah, there we go. Party poppers. Nice. I'm going to share the link to this and I'll put it in the chat. I'll come back and refresh this a couple times, but we should get some responses soon while I'm doing a quick wrap up here. And like I said, I'll share this link with everyone so you can go back and check it out once all 20 have come in. So let's see, 7-second test. Study. So let me get this link here. Results, share results, enable to share, copy. And I'm going to just drop this right in the chat for you guys to check out. All right, someone can be on duty. Check this. You can check this and refresh it and let me know in the chat when some results roll in. But in the meantime, since we're at time here, I'm going to do a quick wrap up, some key takeaways, and we'll take a peek at those right before we break. So if you're able to, hang on with me for 5 more minutes. Okay, so nice job, everybody. That was a lot for an hour, and I'm very excited to see what the results that roll in and if we have an improvement on the comprehension or the recall of the messaging that the test that you guys all took at the beginning. I have a feeling that we're going to. That's why you test it. You never know for sure. But Kat and everyone else, you did a really nice job on this and I think made some solid improvements. So We'll see what comes out of that and how well we were able to boost it in just really 10-minute activity there. Before we break, wanted to give some key takeaways and wrap-ups. I know we packed a lot into this hour, and I'm going to be following up with some more resources, links, things for you to check out and test on your own. But I like to end each workshop with a couple big points to hopefully take away. First one, great messaging comes from understanding your users and testing clarity, not just writing flashy and definitely not just writing like clickbaity headlines. I say this in our UX writing workshop that a lot of people may come into a project like this or a workshop like this and think that messaging, copywriting, UX writing, even marketing copy is a talent or a skill that some people have as a great writer, and some people don't have it. And while I'll say that there are definitely some cases of people who naturally can do that, get off to a better start with that or pick it up quicker, that is not the case at all. Messaging, especially in this sense that we're looking at and in UX writing and content design, is a process, right? It's all about understanding your users, being able to pull from those quotes, the things that they're talking about, mirroring their language, understanding the scenario that they're in, and doing that research and observation that is going to give you the tools you need to have that great messaging that resonates with them. It is not just pulling an awesome headline out of your hat when the time comes for it. Great messaging goes way beyond emails, clicks, and conversion rates. That's what we focused on here today. And those more like conversion-oriented things, that is an important place to get your messaging right for sure. But it can also have a big effect on every area of your product. Error notifications, onboarding setups, transactional emails. It can be used for sales, conversions, et cetera, but certainly applies to many other areas of your product and the user experience as well. And I'll come back to it one last time. Quick and dirty research is highly underrated, in my opinion, and Lyssna is a really good platform for doing it. It can have a huge impact, and I think that research having that reputation of being longer, vague, complex, and not really actionable, while that can be the case sometimes, there are so many missed opportunities to do just what we did here today, running a quick test, getting your messaging out there and refining it before you send an email to announce this new feature. That's something that you can do frequently, efficiently, effectively, and it can have a really big impact, in this case, on the adoption of a new feature or any of those product or business goals that you have. Some next steps. Okay, we got one response. Run your own 5-second test. If you couldn't write in a response. Everyone other than Kat, you're going to get your results from this. But if you want to continue working on this exact study, you can run your own 5-second test on Lyssna. And I'm going to provide some resources and templates to do that. If you have a project that you're working on, an email that you're working on improving, a campaign that you want to really get the messaging right for, a landing page that you're designing, you can do exactly what we did here today. Rather than flip-flopping on the copy, the messaging, the design and images, which we didn't really talk about as much today, rather than going back and forth on that and trying to optimize it based on your own best guess, you can run your own 5-second test or a number of other quick, effective studies on Lyssna. And like I said at the beginning, if research is something that you obviously know is important, but maybe you're having trouble getting buy-in or getting a research process off the ground with your stakeholders, some of these quick tests are a really great starting point for that. They don't require a lot of resources, and you're going to get results back that are going to have real tangible impact on things like announcing a new feature. I hope everyone here is feeling like you got some new confidence and skills and maybe some scenarios to apply some of the stuff that we talked about here. All right, let's take a 2-second look at our results here. We got one participant. They're going to start to roll in probably like the next 10 minutes or so. So if you're curious about it, Kat, I'm sure you're checking it out, then keep this link open or come back to it. Let's see, we got one. What is this email about? Setting up schedules and alerts for suggestions in regards to rescheduling. It would help with organizing their daily tasks and meetings. All right, that's just 1 out of 20, but I'm going to give a round of applause for you, Kat, because I think we're a preemptive round of applause because I think we're on the right track with this one. And I'm going to keep it open. I'm curious to see what else comes in, but I think it's going to certainly be an improvement from some of those first responses that we saw. Awesome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining, and thanks for doing some speed writing and designing for that quick activity. That was damn good for 10 minutes.